let me ask you a question. If 2025 was a bad real estate market, why did more homes sell than in the year before? It's because the truth is 2025 wasn't a crash year. It wasn't a boom year either. It's what I like to call a normalization year. And today I want to walk you through the how the Acadiana real estate market performed in 2025, what December showed us about momentum, and what all of this means as we find ourselves looking to buy or sell in 2026. Today we're not talking about headlines. We're not talking about fear. We're just looking at the data, the simple facts. So let's start with a full overview of 2025 and what happened across Acadiana. New listings increased, pending sales increased, closed sales increased, prices increased again. And that combination matters. See, inventory didn't rise. It didn't just explode, but it rose with demand, not against it. Buyers didn't disappear. They just simply adapted. In fact, year-to-date closed sales show that more homes sold in 2025 than in 2024, proving that transactions didn't disappear. They simply required better decision making. This wasn't a market where homes magically sold themselves. It was a market where strategy mattered, and it mattered probably more than ever. Let's take a minute and talk about inventory and absorption, because this is where I think a lot of misinformation is. In 2025, our inventory didn't explode. It stayed within a healthy range. Our month supply worth of inventory actually improved in December, dropping below the prior year. That tells us something important. Homes that were priced correctly and prepared properly, they were still being absorbed by the market. What does this mean in plain English? Homes didn't pile up. They moved. They just didn't move recklessly. This is a definition of a balanced market, not a broken one. So let's zoom into December of 2025, because December often tells us what next year is setting up to look like. And so what did December show us? Pending sales increased. Buyers were still writing offers. Closed sales jumped 25%. Sellers were still going to the closing table. Our days on market improved, and prices, well, they rose again. That's not a market that's slowing down. That's a market where buyers are still writing offers during the holidays and sellers are still closing. December confirmed that buyer confidence heading into 2026 was still strong. So what does this mean for sellers who sold in 2025? If you sold in 2025 and you did it right, you likely experienced more negotiation room on the seller side than what sellers experienced in 21 and in 22. You might have had fewer offers, but you probably had a better quality buyer. And you saw a need for pricing strategy from day one. Here's the key. Sellers still averaged 97 to 98% of their list price in the Acadiana market. Prices didn't collapse. Equity, it didn't vanish. The market simply stopped rewarding guesswork. The sellers who sold in 2025, well, they were the ones that priced realistically. They prepared their homes before putting it on the market, and they used strong marketing. And those same sellers will win in 2026. What did this mean for buyers in 2025? Well, 2025 was the first year in a long time where buyers could take a breath. They could take their time and they could compare homes. They could negotiate again. And yet prices still rose. That tells us that buyers, well, they weren't waiting for the crash, right? They weren't waiting out the market. They were engaging more intelligently. So if you bought a home in 2025, you likely benefited from better inspections, fewer bidding wars, more negotiations, and more realistic sellers. The balance is healthy and it's rare. So here's the big lessons from 2025. Lesson number 1, inventory alone doesn't crash a market. Unmatched inventory does. 2025 didn't have that problem. Lesson number 2, buyers don't disappear. They adapt, and they adapted well in 2025. Lesson number 3, Strategy beats timing. The market rewards preparation, not panic. So as we are in 2026, where does this leave us? Well, for sellers, early planning matters more than waiting. So if you're thinking about getting on the market, now's the time to start preparing your house, to start coming up with a strategy, to start identifying the things that are important to buyers as we put your property on the market. Less competition often exists before the rush. So don't wait until the spring. And correct pricing, well, it still wins. And for buyers, balance creates opportunity. Waiting for the quote crash isn't a strategy, and education beats the headlines. So if you're looking to buy, now's the time to come up with a strategy for what that looks like, to come up with a timeline of when that might take place. 2025 didn't break the Acadiana real estate market, it strengthened it. And as we head into 2026, the people who understand that will win. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, or you just want clarity about what all this means to you and your equity position in your property, well, that's why I'm here. Hey, I'm John Ray, and I sell real estate in Lafayette and the surrounding areas. And a smart move starts with sitting down and looking at all of the data and coming up with a goal that's important to you, and then figuring out what that timing looks like. So if you're thinking about a sale in 2026, drop me a comment or shoot me a DM, and I'd be happy to get the conversation started.